After the break, more hate crimes against London's Jewish community are committed by young people. Charities want schools to intervene. Tonight, a worrying rise in hate crimes against London's Jewish community, particularly for young people.
All I had to say was that I was a Jew, and suddenly that seemed to incense people.
Also on the programme, the digging is done, but the campaign to stop the Silvertown tunnel ploughs on, with some saying it will increase pollution. Flash flooding forces 19 people from their homes in Wembley. Could construction work be to blame? And believe it or not, bananas are loving London's bizarre summer weather. Good evening. We've reported a lot on this programme about the worrying rise of anti-Semitism in the capital. Now, new figures today show young Jewish Londoners are particularly being targeted and that hate is spreading online. There were 450 anti-Semitic incidents in the capital in just the first half of the year, and a 37% increase in hate crimes online. For young Jewish people, the statistics are particularly upsetting, with incidents in schools on the rise too. Helen Keenan has our top story.
My mum brought me and my three sisters up by herself in quite a Jewish part of North London, called North London.
A comedian using her platform to let her experience of anti-Semitism take centre stage. Katie was abused and attacked by a group of 5 men while in a pub watching the North London derby. She said around 50 others joined in the racist chanting aimed at her. Her shirt was also ripped by her attackers.
Which was, I think, a particularly visceral and, really quite violent incident within the incident.
Yeah, it's really aggressive.
Really aggressive, and, you know, sexual assault as well, I think we can call it. You know, it's really, and I think, yeah, it really took me by surprise how angry it seemed to make them, and how all I had to say was that I was a Jew, and suddenly that seemed to incense people, and to such a degree that I wasn't expecting at all.
Some of the most violent and shocking anti-Semitic attacks have made headlines. ITV has previously covered how last year saw the highest number of incidents in London and across the UK ever recorded, according to the Community Security Trust.
What we're seeing with anti-Jewish hate crime at the moment is every single month over 100 anti-Jewish hate crimes reported to our organisation CST or to the police. Obviously the real figure is much, much more than that.
In their latest report, the CST recorded 447 anti-Jewish hate incidents in Greater London from January to June this year. That's 4% less than the first half of 2022. But the figures also show an almost 40% rise in online abuse, and across the UK, anti-Jewish incidents affecting schools increased by almost 30%. It's anti-Semitism growing in schools that's a key concern for leaders in London's Jewish community.
The Board of Deputies is producing a digital resource in the next few months, which is going to go into schools so that other people can understand about Jews and about anti-Semitism, and understanding and education has got to be something that's got to be tackled very early on for children who, let's face it, children are not born to hate. It's something they learn.
Katie's attackers have never been caught and agrees lessons need to be learned to put an end to the vile abuse she and so many others have suffered. Helen Keenan, ITV News.
Tunnelling work has come to an end on a controversial new road under the River Thames. The £2.2 billion Silvertown tunnel is designed to ease congestion and will link East London with the Greenwich Peninsula in South London. But the project has provoked fury from environmental campaigners who claim it will lead to more pollution in the capital. Our political correspondent Simon Harris reports.
Take a ride on London's cable car and the Silvertown tunnel is hard to miss. And it was from this vantage point a member of the London Assembly spotted a significant but unannounced development. There in plain sight was one of the giant drills at the end of its subterranean journey, its tunnelling job clearly done.
I was surprised to see that the tunnel boring machine had emerged, and with no fanfare at all from the mayor. I think it shows how he recognises that this is a blot on his environmental record, and he's a bit ashamed of it now.
The £2.2 billion tunnel under the Thames is designed to take traffic from the Blackwall tunnel, where there are often queues. The mayor claims that will lead to less pollution. But opponents and environmental campaigners say that's not true. It'll mean more pollution. The tunnel is Transport for London's biggest infrastructure project, and it's controversial. When Crossrail was being built, TfL was eager to talk about progress and publicise significant milestones. That's not the case with this scheme. It's almost as if TfL has gone shy. The media has been banned from visiting the site. Even City Hall politicians haven't been allowed in. TfL wouldn't talk to us today, instead issuing a brief statement saying, "The main tunnelling works at Silvertown are now completed, which, once open, will support growth in the local area, provide new public transport connections across the river via zero-emission bus routes, and address the chronic issues Londoners face at the Blackwall Tunnel." Victoria is in the Stop Silvertown Tunnel coalition, a coalition which failed to stop it.
We're not going away, we're going to keep campaigning. What we're campaigning for now is repurposing the tunnel. So we want it to be used for maybe electric buses only, cargo bikes which have nowhere to cross the river. They have to go to Tower Bridge to cross the river, cycling, walking. We want just clean use for the tunnel.
But Evo, who runs a minicab firm in East London, can't wait for the tunnel to open to ordinary traffic, even though there'll be a toll.
Just to give you an example, the Old 2 Arena, which is other side of the river, we stopped taking bookings a few years ago to Old 2 Arena with a reason, because the drivers were always stuck in a traffic journey, which is just a couple of miles long, can take sometimes an hour and a half to be completed.
With or without fanfare, the tunnel is due to open in 2025. Simon Harris, ITV News, Silvertown.
A senior police officer who allegedly smoked cannabis every day refused to take a drugs test, a tribunal has heard. Commander Julian Bennett, who's worked for the Met since 1976, claims he never took drugs, but he did use CBD oil and would have therefore tested positive. However, a nurse who lived with the officer in 2019 claimed he was never sober at home. 2 men have been jailed for life for murdering a 22-year-old aspiring lawyer in a case of mistaken identity. Sven Badzak was walking home from Waitrose in Kilburn in 2021 when he was stabbed multiple times. Another man's been jailed for manslaughter, whilst 3 more suspects are still at large. Footage of a mother being wrongly arrested in Croydon for bus fare evasion in front of her tearful young son does not show the full incident, a police watchdog has said. The incident happened on the 157 bus to Morden in July and led to criticism of the Met. The Independent Office for Police Conduct says they are looking for witnesses. Well, now 2 Metropolitan Police officers will now face misconduct proceedings after the investigation into the death of a mentally ill man who died in custody was re-examined. Kevin Clark was restrained by several officers in Lewisham in 2018 and died in hospital. The police watchdog investigated the officers again after issues were raised about evidence during the inquest. The officers are on restricted duties. Well, Daniel Henry is here to talk us through it. Daniel, first, remind us of what happened.
Well, we can look back at the pictures of what happened, the body-worn cameras that the police had at the time. I've got to warn you, though, those pictures are very, very distressing. But when you look at them, you can see that Kevin was surrounded by officers at the time. He was in the middle of a mental health crisis, as you said. And he goes on to be handcuffed twice with a hood put over his head. And we learned later that an inquest ruled that this restraint that we can see contributed to his death. And now we've got the IOPC, the Independent Office of Police Conduct, saying that there are 2 officers who have a case to answer. And what they're saying is that case is gross misconduct, and we'll find out where that leads. Campaigners have questioned for a long time, what's the point in sending police officers to deal with mental health challenges? And what we're seeing now is that since Kevin's death, there's been a change in leadership, hasn't there, at the top of the Met. So Mark Rowley's in charge now, and he has been saying that no officers should be responding to mental health challenges as of August 31st.
Daniel Henry, thank you very much indeed for that. 19 people have been forced to leave their homes in Wembley after flash flooding left some roads under 1 metre of floodwater. Firefighters were called to rescue residents who claim nearby construction work had already blocked a pipe, which was made worse by last night's heavy downpour. Anila Dami reports.
Phones film an unlikely August sight. Flash floods from heavy rain, knee-deep, trapping one man in a van near Stonebridge Station. And 19 people were led to safety yesterday as 40 firefighters and 6 fire engines dealt with the downpour for around 6 hours. Today, it's clean-up day for Deepak and his family on Tokington Avenue.
There is overflow, massive water, and all over here. 3-4 hours continue. We have already lost our washing machine.
Locals believe construction work exacerbated the flooding.
We guess that once the construction, because they all covered that one canals. I think they put it only the one pipe something. That is not enough water to going throughout, isn't it?
Well, through there is Deepak's house. To the right of me is a stream, and then here you can see the construction site, so you can see the close proximity between them. Residents believe that there's a blockage between the stream and the river in the pipes caused by the construction site.
There used to be sort of a creek going through their site. We think that somehow with the work they blocked it, and we think that that's what caused the flooding.
Water's still being pumped as we talk to local businessman Jonathan, whose car park was flooded.
We've seen this for the first time about 2 weeks ago, when there was some major rain, but it wasn't as severe as yesterday. Yesterday the water arrived all the way to the building and flooded really the car park, the streets around.
Those affected were taken to Brent Civic Centre and had the option of staying in a hotel. Residents had been given some pre-warning.
Last Saturday we were giving sandbags. We were told that they are aware that if it will start raining again, we will get flooded again, and this is at least what they can do for us.
On the 1st of August, the council warned residents they may notice more noise outside as passageways are dug to make more space for the water to flow away again.
Identifying the issues and working with the owners of the site and working with the Environment Agency to actually identify what the actual blockage is.
The Environment Agency says they're talking to the owner of the land adjacent to Wembley Brook to investigate the cause of the flooding. We reached out to the construction company who'd been on the site for the last few months, but have had no response. Brent Council says they're working with others to bolster preventative measures ahead of more rain forecasts this weekend, as residents fear more floods. Anila Dami, ITV News.
Well, still to come on the programme.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome Sir Michael Palin!
Comedian Richard Herring is taking his show on the road. And why bananas are going nuts for London's weather. But first, teenagers from all over London have travelled to South Korea for a festival celebrating the Scouts. The international event was somewhat hampered by extreme weather conditions. Flooding and a heat wave meant several young people needed medical help. But the Scouts soldiered on, determined to take part in their all-out jamboree. Our reporter Lauren Hall's there with them.
A spectacular start to the World Scout Jamboree here in South Korea. Last night's opening ceremony brought together teenagers from all over the world. After spending their first night here, our Scouts have woken up with a lot to look forward to over the next 10 days.
We all know that old Scout motto, be prepared. Well, do you know, I don't think anything could have prepared them for this. 45,000 young people from nearly every nation on earth. And let me tell you, the atmosphere here is just incredible. There is so much excitement.
There are also hundreds of our scouts here from across London and the home counties. They arrived a bit later than expected because of flooding on the campsite. We spoke to Alec and Ariane, who told us it was worth the wait.
It feels really, really exciting that we're going to meet new people, trying different foods and all of that.
Yeah, it's been such a long time coming, so I think everyone's so excited to be here and sort of get on with the activities and meet people.
We literally drove through the gates and they started singing. We were so happy to finally be here. Everyone was cheering, everyone was shouting. It was just the build-up and the excitement, it just came out and it was incredible to see.
They've been preparing for this for many months, an event which is seen as so much more than just a camping trip.
It's young people who are going to change the world. It's young people who are going to drive that change, to remind us that what brings us together is so much greater than what divides us. And I think the world has never been more divided and more in need of that scouting spirit, that scouting energy, and that scouting goodness.
That's why the Scouts have also taken a trip to the demilitarised zone, the heavily fortified border between North and South Korea.
I think it's important that we show them, because they're going to take the message that we see here back to their communities, back home, wherever in the world that might be. And we can all see how war divides this nation. I think bringing that back and, planting that seed with the next generation probably takes us those few steps further away from war itself.
There's been a lot to take in. Now, though, our Scouts are looking forward to meeting others just like them from all over the world as the jamboree finally gets underway. Lauren Hall, ITV News in South Korea.
Great stuff. Now, what do you get when you cross a comedian, a podcast and a UK tour? Well, I won't give away the punchline if there is one, but our guest today might. Richard Herring rose to fame as part of the acclaimed comedy duo Lee and Herring before launching his smash hit Leicester Square Theatre podcast, where he interviews some of the biggest names in comedy.
Our guest this week is probably best known for her work as a runner on the TV show Our Friends in the North. That is why that's the most high-profile thing she's been involved in. Will you please welcome Sarah Millican, ladies and gentlemen? Sarah Millican.
Well, now Richard is taking his show on the road, and I'm delighted to say he's here with me now. So what's all this about then? How do you take a podcast on the road?
Well, you can do it anywhere. That's the beauty of it. During lockdown, I just did it from my attic, but yeah, because it's, I've always done it in a theatre, and it's called the Leicester Square Theatre podcast, usually because it's at the Leicester Square Theatre when it's in London. But I just call it RHLSTP now, so wherever I go, I change that to change the meaning of those letters. And so, yeah, I've done it in a few different locations. I've done a tour before, but it's nice to take it out on the road because obviously you get listeners all over the world, actually, but it's nice to take it to them so people can appreciate it in different towns.
Be with the audience. Now, you've interviewed all kinds of massive comedy names, Stephen Fry, Dawn French, Michael Palin, Catherine Ryan. What have been some of your favourite moments?
I think getting Sir Michael Palin on was incredible for me because he's my absolute comedy hero, so I was kind of giddy with excitement with him, and he turned out to be like everything you'd want. Sometimes you meet these people and the public face is not the same. That was amazing. Brian Blessed was incredible because I barely got a word in. I did manage to get one joke, I think, into the whole thing, but he just sort of took over. But they've been sort of Stephen Fry was amazing because he also kind of opened up about a very personal suicide attempt that he'd had that he hadn't talked about before. So it's a very weird thing because it's a comedy podcast and I'm trying to get funny stories out of people and trying to riff funny material. But in over an hour or a bit longer, you can't be funny all the time. And suddenly, I think because the audience is such a part of this show, that the guests feel relaxed and they do kind of open up in a weird way, even though I'm not really, it's not really what I'm trying to do.
Quite an intimate kind of experience then. And some of the questions, the comedy questions that you ask are bizarre.
Yes.
Tell us some of them. How do you come up with those ideas?
Well, I've got a kind of childish mind, I think. So they are, a lot of them are those kind of would you rather questions, but I try to put my own spin on them. I'm trying to think of ones that are not too rude to say. Some of them are rude, but an early one was, would you rather have a hand made out of ham or an armpit that dispenses sun cream? What I'm trying to do with them is, it's good to have some questions in case you're talking to someone and you can't think of anything to say.
Yeah.
But I think asking a question that someone's not been asked before. And I've been interviewed a lot, so I know the questions you get asked a lot. You ask them something they've thought about before, and then they have to really think about an answer. And having done that, even if you go to something they've talked about before, you find that they'll tell you new details because they move away from the script. I think that most celebrities are used to being interviewed, and most of them have a sort of script and stories they tell. So it's great. What I want to do is to find the reason I introduce people by a very obscure credit rather than their main one is no one will ever ask Sarah Millican about being the runner on My Friends in the North, but you'll get some stories that you haven't heard before. And with Michael Palin, we talked about You've Got Mail, which he was in but was cut out completely. Most people wouldn't talk to him about that.
That's brilliant.
But you know, you get some interesting stories that haven't been told before if you do.
Oh, that's brilliant. And good luck with the show. And it sounds like it's going to be really exciting and really different as well.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot for coming
you.
in. Thank you. The daughter of David Gold has been appointed to West Ham's board of directors after the passing of her father, who was 86 in January. Vanessa Gold has vowed to continue her family legacy at the London Stadium. She'll take a 25% stake, making her the third largest shareholder in the club. Next tonight, it's fair to say the changeable weather in London this summer hasn't been to everyone's taste, but joy at the rain and humidity has been found by a rather unlikely source. Bananas. It's incredibly rare for them to grow here in London. They're more naturally suited to the tropical climates of South America and Asia. But as Kafok Pata reports, the fruit's now popping up in back gardens.
It may seem like your typical London garden, but once inside, it guarantees an exotic feel.
Right here, I've got a pond here. I've got about something like over...
Ripon Ray has lived here in Hackney for over 10 years, and as temperatures in his city rose, then came some unexpected produce.
But so you can also see more grapes.
Wait, those are actual grapes?
They are.
In London?
I know.
How did you manage that?
Well, I suppose I realise that the climate is changing. And also with vines, I've noticed that as time goes on, you know, every year, it's getting bigger.
Can I try one?
Well, try, but they're not ripe. Yeah,
Disgusting.
try. Yeah, they're not ripe.
Just
I'm
gonna.
It's gonna taste probably bitter.
Use some of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if I die,
yeah,
scared over.
Die, blame IT and.
Oh!
Yeah.
So, a rare find, but certainly not the tastiest. And if sour grapes aren't to your fancy, maybe his other plants are.
I've got courgette here, and also there are two types of kales. The darker ones are more Mediterranean kale, and I mean the other ones are the slightly normal ones that you get in normal stores.
Grapes, courgettes, kale, all things which are rather hard to grow in the UK. And then 3 months ago, an even bigger surprise.
Wait. These little things right there, those are bananas.
They are bananas.
Wait, Ripon, we're in London. It's not Ecuador, it's not a hot country. How on earth have you managed to grow bananas in your back garden?
I don't know, but what I can tell you is that this tree that you're seeing, when I first grew it, it was tiny. Yeah. I think it's been around here for like more than 10 years now.
And in that time, in 10 years, it's never produced any bananas?
It never produced any bananas, it never produced anything. And who would know that now it is producing bananas?
Ripon thinks the rising temperatures is what's led to the rise of his bananas. And as the weather gets hotter, who knows what he'll find here next. Cafe Pater, ITV News.
Well, I can confirm Kath is alive and well after eating that grape. Didn't taste the banana though, did he? But is the bananas weather here to stay? Here's James Wright to tell us.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles. Car, charger and energy.
Hi there, good evening. If you're planning things for the weekend, you might want to take into consideration the weather because it is going to be a weekend of two halves. Saturday set to be a rather wet and windy affair. If you're planning to do stuff outside, you might want to wait until Sunday. As far as this evening goes, though, one or two light showers drifting through. They should ease off once the sun goes down. One or two stragglers might hold on. And temperatures, well, it's not going to be particularly chilly. Even by the end of the night, we're looking at lows of 14 or 15 Celsius. We do do have this light northwesterly breeze. That's sort of notable for two reasons. One, it gives us this line of fairly organised showers to the north and east of us. Problem is they might just drift into eastern parts of the capital. Further west, looking much drier. There should be some good sunny spells around, but that northwesterly is also introducing some slightly cooler air mass. So slightly down temperature-wise on today, 21 or 22 Celsius at best. Still not feeling too bad in the sunshine. The problem is Saturday. It's going to be a bit of a wet one. We'll see lots of wet weather early on in the day of the main rain band. Then we'll see this wrap-around occlusion, so more sort of showery wet weather there. And even in between the main bands, there will be more scattered showers. We take a bit of a dip on temperatures too, highs of 20 Celsius, but look at all the isobars there. It is going to be a rather blustery day. As far as Sunday goes, you can say goodbye to that low pressure system. We end up with a northwesterly, a few sunny spells, so 22 Celsius, a little less breezy too, but like I say, can't dodge those showers. That said, Monday is looking dry and brighter.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles.
And that's it from us. The ITV News at 6:30 is up next with Lucrezia. But for now, from all of us on the London team, enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.